Welcome to fmtraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. Let's talk about our broadcast schedule before we get into today's topic. So we kind of tweaked the name a bit for this. I'll end a discussion from MVP meeting this morning. So basically, FileMaker has the way to make audit logs very easy now with the new on-window transaction script trigger. So we're continuing that conversation. It's very cool. Seriously, the script trigger is wild in what it does and what it brings to the platform, so it's very awesome. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to do so. We have 3 options here. This is basically for people who are like, hey, I really like your live stream training, or I like the idea of the live stream training, but the live stream format doesn't work for me. Go pick up this. If you're like, oh, I really need detailed instruction about specific topics, I need to be able to find that, go pick up this. Helps keep things running, and we appreciate it. So, with that all being said, hi, Calvin. What are we doing today?
So this is the second day in our discussion about audit logs using the on-window transaction script trigger. So we're going to do just a quick recap of yesterday. Let me share my screen and jump into how it works. So here is the demo file we were working with. And in this case, we're using a combination of the window transaction script trigger so I just created a new record. We put in a name and it saves the fields and the environment that we're looking at in a field, an auto enter calculation. And then it uses that to create an audit log in the background. So this doesn't need to be something that we're necessarily see all the time, but it can happen in the background. We're doing this through the file options in the script trigger on window transaction. We're pointing it to a specific field in the table that tracks the data that we want to pass to it, that pass to the audit log. And then it automatically generates a script parameter in JSON format that gives us some information, and then we can add any additional information that we want, which is what we see here. So we covered that all yesterday, and today I want to take a look at how this is set up in your file, in a different file. So here I have a copy of the starting point. And I just downloaded this. And so let's go ahead and start from here, and we'll implement this into FM starting point, and then we will walk through how the scripting is working. So we're going to send you this file that you can import right into here. Anyway, so we're going to give you a file that you can import into here, and then just select to install it. It's already installed on this one. So you'll install the add-on, and then we'll just say add add-on. I'm going to look for my audit. Here's my new audit log. I'll choose it. And that was added all right there. Now I'm going to go to contacts. And I made this button ugly enough that you'll have to change it to your theme. So there is our audit log. Now the next thing I need so I installed the add-on that gave me the custom functions and the audit table. And now I need to add a field, add the script trigger, and then I need to add a field to each of these layouts, or each of these tables. So we'll go to File Options, Script Triggers, On Window Transaction. I'm just going to search On Window Transaction, and there's my field right there. I'm going to say Z On Window Transaction. And here, let's go ahead and go to File, Manage, Database, create a new field, Z on window transaction. And go ahead and create that. Now with our auto enter set up, we want to use this custom function that's called Audit. And then I think we just reference the ID here, which is ID contact. And we want to let this, I don't want this as a calculation, so I'm going to have it triggered every time the modification field is changed. So I'm going to say modify timestamp, select trigger equal, and oops, close the parenthesis there. Okay. We're going to uncheck this so that it refreshes every time. And let's see if that worked. So new record. John in there. And we also have to update this button to give it a, tell it what ID we're looking at. And let's go to browse mode. And here's the moment of truth. Did it work? There we go. So was anyone timing me right there? I added this this audit log in a matter of minutes. And I would have to do this to every table, but this is a good start.
I think that took you maybe 5 minutes. Let's say I finished talking at like 1:05 and it's 1:10 right now. So
there we go. So that's how fast we can add something in here. And you'll see that it's tracking a lot more data than maybe we want to track, but we're off to a good start. So let's go ahead and take a look at what is going on under the hood. So all of this, all of the magic, I guess, is happening in these scripts and in the first in the scripts and also in the custom functions. So here I have a, this is the script, our on-window transaction script that runs every time there's a transaction. And the first thing we're doing is saving the script parameter in a variable. And then I'm checking to make sure that I'm not in the audit log table. So if I'm in the audit log table, or if the table that's returned to me in the script parameter starts with AUD underscore for audit, then I know that this is not what I want to do, and I can exit the script right then. Then I check to make sure that there is a script parameter, or else I'll exit. I do my script settings just so I don't get any error messages. I could run this on server or with PSOS, but in this case I am not using that because this isn't on server. And then I call the actual, so this script just handles some error tracking and then runs the create script, passing it the script parameter that it originally received. Now let's look at that one. So this script parameter is, this is what the script parameter will look like. This was generated by FileMaker and has a couple other additional information in there that I added. But this is just the general format. We have the file name, we have the table name, we have the action, whether it's new, modified, or deleted. We have the record number, and then all of this is custom data here. This third line is third block of data. And so this is something that we define in our script parameter, or in our script parameter, or in the custom functions. So here, we're going to open a new window and navigate to the audit log. And this is a blank layout just so that it runs faster. Save the script parameter into a variable. And then we pull out some information. We get the table name, the action, the record ID. And part of this, I was just parsing it out for testing. You wouldn't necessarily need to do all of this stuff. And you'll see some of these I have in global variables, so just for testing. I'm not referencing the global variables anywhere. It was just so I could see them in the data viewer. Then we get the total number of records that we need to audit, and then the audit log environment, pulling all of these from the script parameter. And then we just do a loop. Now, we have our counter, and we're starting at -1 because we advance right away to the number 0, which is where JSON starts and they're counting. So we need to start with 0. And for each record that is valid, we create a new record. And then once our counter reaches the limit, it exits. Actually, this exit should actually be up here. I'll make an update to that before we send this out. So we advance the counter, check to make sure that we have a valid information. Then we set the audit data in a variable and create a new record. Now, all audit log records are populated with auto-enter calculations referencing the variables. So we don't set any records. Setting records can really slow down your audit log. This is a technique that we used in our previous audit log. So let's go ahead and look at what the audit log is doing. So here we'll see the account is an auto-enter calculation. But here, what it's doing is just saying get JSON get element in that audit log environment variable that we set in our script, and we're grabbing the account. So if we look at what that looks like over here, if we scroll back up to this, we're grabbing the environment, and we're just grabbing the account. And that's the same with all of the other fields in here as well. The action, I think, just directly references the action variable. The data is actually grabbing all the audit log data. You probably wouldn't want to save that because everything else is just parsing out that data. Here we're grabbing the field name. And then down here on value, we're grabbing the field value. And it's all pulling that out and sticking that into that audit log. Let's go ahead and look at the audit log. So it pulled it out and put it in all of these fields: the count, the value, the field, everything that we need to know is saved right there. Once it finishes looping through those and creating those records, it closes our processing window, which brings us back to the on-window transaction, and which just makes sure we return to the original layout. And that's pretty much everything else we have in here. Is the 3 other scripts that we have in here is for the what is it called? For the card window that just displays the audit log, which is kind of some icing on top of the cake. It's not really necessary for the audit log. Do we have any questions about these scripts, the on-window transaction script or the create audit log, before we dig into the custom functions?
Could you store it to a global variable?
Store. So I was using global variables, or I wasn't using them. I was setting global variables for the sake of just testing, but you wouldn't. I mean, you could use global variables. I just avoid it because I don't like it cluttering my data viewer. I'm not sure the advantage to using a global variable, but yes, you could.
Do you want to show the parameter again real fast on the what it
it actually looks like?
Yes.
So this is what this was copied, right?
Okay, cool. That's copied directly. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is copied directly from a script parameter. And you can see it's a little messed up because it had null values in there. But this is copied directly from there. We've got the file name, the table name, the action, record ID, and then our custom information here that we specified. So if we want to, I'll go ahead and run this one more time, change John to Jones, and we'll just Do that. And now, here's my data viewer. Here it is. Get script parameter. So here is the script parameter. Now you'll notice we've got the file name, the table name, the action, and now here's our record ID, and now here's our audit data, or our audit log information. Here's the data, and you'll notice we've got a lot more fields this time, not just the one. And then our environment, the account ID, which is the primary key for the current record, the layout, the script, if there was a script, and the table as in contacts. So same kind of thing here as we saw it previously. So this is what the parameter is going to look like. And essentially, we're parsing out this parameter to create those audit log records. Any other questions there before we jump into the custom functions?
I'm muted, of course. No, I don't see any, so I think we're good to go
Okay,
ahead and
let's
do
go
that.
jump into the custom functions. So one thing that we'll notice here is that on this audit log, we have a lot of records here. G tag current month. I'm not even sure what that is. Do we have the ID constant in here? Flag primary? No, that could be important. We might want that one. ID contact, we probably don't want that one. Name full, this is a calc field. So a lot of these fields we don't necessarily want. So let's see how we can fix that. So let's go to the custom functions. And we'll jump down to, oh, here it is. So we have the audit data and audit environment. Let's look at audit environment just because it's an easier one to, it's the simpler of the two. So here we see we're just defining we're setting the JSON element. So we've got audit log, environment, account, ID, layout, script, table, and then audit log data, which is a placeholder that we'll put in the other script. We'll put the other information in. All of these are strings except for the last one, which is an array. And we're just setting that, prepping that to be referenced in the other custom function. You could put whatever you wanted in here as well. You could say, I want the environment. Also, we want, what's another thing we could want? IP or version. Let's do that. Get application version. And of course, it's not going to autocomplete for me. Okay. So now we're tracking what version of the app that they're on. And you can track the platform, anything else you want in here. And this kind of just helps you figure out that information. Anything that might be helpful in debugging. Usually for audits, for actual changes, the application version isn't so important. Usually I want to know that when somebody logs in and tells me that they're having problems. But for edits, I don't care so much. Now let's open up if we don't have any questions about the audit log environment, I'll jump into audit log data, which is where it's a little more complicated here. So here we have, I'll kind of walk through what's going on here. We're using a while calculation, and our only input is the primary key. So we have a counter. We've got two counters in here. One is counting the fields that are modified, and the second is counting the fields that are added into the audit log. Our fields are the modified fields, and then our field count, this is for the limit for the first counter, is the number of values in that modified fields list. And then for a result, we're just specifying we're using our other function and passing the ID. And then type, we don't actually need type, I just put it in there for testing. So here, and then we have our second counter, which is starting at -1 because this is the JSON. This first counter is counting the list, and the second counter is counting the JSON. So the list needs to start at 0, while the JSON needs to start -1 so that it can advance to 0. Now, as long as the first counter hasn't reached its limit, then it will continue going through this. We advance the counter, we grab the field with a get value, and then we grab the field type, and then we check that field type. So what we're actually checking, I guess we don't really check the type so much as we check whether it starts with a Z or not. So if it starts with a Z, we're saying don't track this. Now, maybe we don't want to track anything that starts with you wouldn't want to track a global either. So let's say global, or let's say a calc. You don't want to track a calc. And so I'll put a C on there. And so this is where we can define which fields we're skipping and not including in our audit. Now we have the second counter. And in this case, we are only if it passed our check, do we include it and we advance the counter. And that is when if that check is correct. If the check is empty, then we're just going to continue giving it the same result back. Otherwise, we are going to continue to place the build this JSON and put this the new field. We use get field to get the field value, and then we give it a. We don't need to put the type in, but I have it in there. And then we give our results, and that's where we get our script parameter. So let's go ahead and make some adjustments to. Do we have any questions before we start making adjustments to our table here to make it fit more nicely in our audit log?
Yes. Environment options are in Claris help? ?
Environment options are whatever you want them to be. So you'll notice here on the environment, what was it called? Here, I'm just using get functions: account name, layout name, script name, table name, application version. Anything that you want to put in here, you can use. So if I just go to my get functions, I could say, oh, maybe I want the extended privilege sets, or the group name, or the privilege set name, or the account type. You can put any of these in here to kind of just give you an idea what environment the person's working in, who's there. And that will help you set up, just kind of give you an idea what's going on. At the very least, I would say we do want to know who did the edit, so the account name, and we do want to know the ID. Those are the most basic required ones. I'd say the layout and script are secondary. The table's helpful too, but usually you're seeing it in the context of the table that you're looking at, so it's pretty obvious what table you're working on. Table, though, is one of the default parts of that script parameter, so you don't necessarily even need to set it in here. I probably wouldn't. I would lean away from that one. And application version, you don't really need these. The less you're tracking, the less data space it's going to take up. But account and ID, definitely you want those. Any other questions?
Yes. If the file you want to add this to already has a log table, you log things like API call / responses, would Calvin integrate the two log tables or keep them separate? I understand you could do either, but I'm curious what Calvin's thoughts are on this.
Yeah, so good question. So in the past, I've always had my log tables in the same, those logs, the action logs and the edit logs in the same table. And I like that on one hand because it really gives you a lot of, it gives you, it kind of tells a story. So especially in our old audit log, which did a lot of actions. Do I have the old audit log around? In our old audit log, or the previous audit log that I worked on, we had this ability to you can kind of see the person logged in at this time, they viewed this record, they edited these 3 fields, they navigated to another record, they did a search, and then they logged out. And so I really liked how that kind of told a story, but very few people actually look at those logs and read them in that way. And I found that if you're tracking API calls and stuff, you really don't need to see the edits in this unless the API call is making those edits. So it would depend on what those API calls are doing. I have one audit log that does a lot of tracking log. It does a lot of like error captures that are run by Sassy and PSOS. And I don't really need to see the edits in the same place. And it's tracking a lot of different information. If you're getting script errors, I really want to know what version of the app you're on, what version of your iOS or your Mac OS or your Windows you're on. And those things are less important with an edit log, that changing the fields themselves. So I'm leaning towards separating them to maybe like an action log. Also, a lot of those things that track Sassy and PSOS, after they're a day old, you don't really care anymore, and you can delete them. So I have some processes that delete all of these records after 7 days or 30 days or something. But usually these audits that somebody's changing a field, you do want those. So it might be better to put them in a different table. If you're going to use this, though, if you're going to use this and the add-on in this case, then it might be advantageous to just put it in a new table. If you're going to use this on-window transaction to start running that same log, maybe you could just take your audit log script and maybe update it a little bit to reference the script parameter, this new script parameter, and have it run at that different time. So it depends on the scenario. Good question. Any other questions?
Yeah, from Twitch. Does the add-on add an audit log to the tables, or do you have to add the audit log table yourself? Question mark.
The add-on automatically, yeah. So the add-on is the table. It adds the table for you. If we look at this add-on, the add-on file itself, which is right here, I believe, you'll see that this is just, we've got our 3 fields or 3 layouts for running the processes. We've got our add-on object. Then on the scripts, we have these 5 scripts. And then in our table, we've got one table, it's just the audit log, 16 fields. And we could probably even cut that down a little bit. So the audit log table does come in the add-on. Any other questions?
Can you only grab fields changed? Could you grab only the fields that are being changed and not every field?
Yeah, so what's good point. So that's actually what we're doing right now. So if we look at this, manage custom functions. So in here, we're getting the modified fields. And so any field that changed, that's the fields that we're grabbing. So we're basing it on the script, this function, this get function, but you could base it on a different kind of function, say like just get the fields off of the specified layout, which is some audit logs did in the past. And that way you can limit which fields. That would be one way to limit which fields that you are grabbing. But yeah, so right now what it's doing is just grabbing the fields that have changed during that edit. We'll keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we've got some fields in here that we don't necessarily, or maybe this is what they're asking, like how do we avoid some of these fields? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Because we only changed 2 fields, which is a little obnoxious that we had so many in there. So let's go back and so here, do we want account name? Yes. Account created? Not so much. So I'll just put a Z in the front of it. Account name. Actually, we do want this one. That is not the FileMaker account, but the account record. Modified, we're already tracking that. We don't want that one. The found count, why is this even in here? I'm going to prefix that with a C. And make sure that that's not there. Okay, so category, phone. Now, these filtered ones, probably don't want these either. Let's just stay with where we have. Okay, so here, if we go to account, we'll see account created and account modified were saved in here as admin. Let's do a new record. And John Johnson. We'll save that. Now let's look at the audit log. And let's look for account. And we'll notice that we skipped. We don't have the account information in here. Now we don't need it because we're tracking it right here. But so why didn't we have that? We don't have that because we prefixed it with a Z. And if we go into our custom functions, we'll see here on the audit log data that we are skipping this check. If the left 2 is a Z underscore, then we're not passing any data. It's empty. So we're skipping anything with a Z at the front or a C at the front. And so that is how we're tracking which ones we're skipping. So if we look at this, username created, maybe that's another one we would put a Z in front of. We don't really need that one. Change. And depending on your app, a lot of times there's just a bunch of random developer fields at the bottom that have a Z underscore in front of them. And it's not as needed in the audit log, at least. Any questions while I'm just making these quick changes?
Someone said sort underscore. I'm not quite sure what they mean by that.
Oh, it's one of the fields. So
Got it.
Sort key list. There's a sort calc. So maybe we could prefix that one with C. Change that. Sort key list. Now these ones that are unstored, I'm not sure if they will, or the sort selection, since that one's global. Sort state. Some of these I think we don't need anymore in this. Okay. So let's just look in here and see if it saves sort. So save the sort calc. Let's try a new record. And new record. And now you'll notice that my list is a lot shorter already. So there's no sort in here. And so you can keep paring those down either by finding new ways to label things that you don't want, or by tracking these or putting other additional filters in that audit log calculation, custom function that would skip those. Any other questions?
I don't see it. Honestly, this is incredibly slickly done, Calvin. I like the fact that you can just add Z in front of things. It'll immediately begin excluding the fields due to the way the custom functions are set up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so probably we would only want maybe these first 2 records. And you could find different ways to filter these out and skip the other ones. Obviously, we don't want this display category, display status, and such. But yeah, so that's kind of an overview of how those scripts and custom functions are working together with the on-window transaction that to get that audit log set up. And once you're familiar with it, it's pretty fast working with.
We do have some questions.
Okay.
What calls the custom function?
Yeah, so remember the script in file options is pointed to this field on window transaction as our to define part of the script parameter. So the script parameter, so this field right here on window transaction is what calls the script parameter. So here we have the audit log data, and we're giving it the ID and the modification timestamp. So this is the where we're referencing the custom function. And within the audit log data custom function, it's referencing the second custom function. So this is the only custom function you really need to mess with, the audit log data.
Could you use a global field instead of having to add a record on each table?
A global field instead of adding a field on each table?
A record on each.
A global field. No, it has to be on that table because if we go to if we look at the setup, what was under file options? If we look at this setup, it doesn't give you the option to it says if the specified field exists in the table where the script is called, the field content will be included in the JSON script parameter. It's only looking in the table where the script is called, nowhere else. So it has to be in that table, which is interesting if you're using, now that I think about it, if you're using something like a session model, this might not work, which is, it didn't cross my mind till now. Yeah, and as Christian says, the special field is contextual. It has to be in that. We're telling it, we're not telling it which field we're to look at, we're telling the name of the field. So a lot of times in FileMaker, you're specifying a field and you can change the name and it fixes, it changes across the board. So, but if I go over here and change this field and say, this one, change, okay. I go to the file options. This didn't change over here. So now it doesn't know what field that is. But so it's we're telling it which name to look at in that field, or in that table. But yeah, good question.
Could review the steps real fast. First enable on transaction.
What's the steps to set it up?
Yeah, just like from
Yeah, let's do it.
complete beginning. Yeah.
We'll do it again.
Yeah,
so
why
I'm
not?
going to, and Christian's here, right?
Yes, Christian managed to miss the very first 10 minutes, so he missed the initial demo.
So I'm going to download this great demo file, sample file, called FM Starting Point. I just downloaded this, just this moment. And I'm going to open it up. I've never opened this file before. This copy of it, at least. And so here it is. I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to go to Add-ons. And I'm going to add an add-on here. I'm going to search for Audit. Oops. And I know it's this one. So choose. Here's my audit. It's added. Now, I should have timed myself. Now I'm going to go over here and say Z, oops, create a new record called Z on window transaction, copy it. We're going to call this one, I'm going to say create. In my options, I'm going to make it a calculated value. I'll say let trigger equal modification timestamp, and then audit log data ID contact. There we go. I'm going to uncheck do not replace existing value if any. And I'm going to copy that field name, say OK. Go to File, File Options, Script Triggers, go down here, Enable, type in on window transaction, grab this one, say OK. Paste my field name in there, say OK. Moment of truth, create a new record. Stick John in here. Save it. Oh, and I want to see if it's going to work. Let's put my audit log field button right here. Grab the script parameter ID contact. Browse. Did it work? It worked. So there we go.
You started at 1:42, so that was 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
That's insane. That's so cool.
My one question, if Christian can answer this, is how do you import something into Wolfpack? I send him these things all the time. So I've got my Wolfpack. How do I import into Wolfpack? Is he answering?
He is indeed typing. Click the wolf in the upper left-hand corner.
Okay, I clicked on it. Click it again. Yeah.
Create, I guess?
No.
Now scroll to the bottom.
Scroll to the bottom.
Yep.
Oh, add on loader. There we go. So here's my Wolfpack import. I'm going to put it in the add-on loader. There it goes. Now I'm going to search for audit. There it is. And so then we could say install selected add-ons. So that would give us another minute that it would take. So we went from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. Is that what it is now? But pretty cool.
That would be, yeah, so that'd be 3 to 4. So, does it work if the audit log is on another server for security reasons?
So you could put the audit log in a separate table or a separate file if you wanted to. I don't see why that wouldn't work. And you could reference that on a different server. I don't see a problem there. No, that kind of covers the whole audit log. If anyone has any other questions, we can look at those. But I went through all the effort of implementing this twice. I'm worn out.
No, you are good. Yeah, that was a very stressful 7 minutes of your time. No, this is awesome. Yeah. Do you have something you want to say? Sorry, I hear Richard.
Yeah, so obviously it's going to take some edits to get this to work just the way you would want it to, but that initial setup should be pretty quick. Oh, here comes Richard.
No, I'm just wondering, if this is something that's so amazing that we should make sure it's in starting point, right? That kind of thing.
Oh, it could be, but it generates a lot of data. Should I implement it another time?
Yeah, we should think about that sometime. Yeah.
Here, watch this, Richard. So I'm going to download this starter app. It's really cool, called FM Starting Point. Here it is right here. I'm going to open this up. This is it. And I'll go to layout mode. Go to my add-ons. And there's no audit log exactly here at the moment, but now there is. So I just added it. I'm going to go to my file options, go to script triggers, go to the end, search on window transaction. Here's the script. I'll call the Z on window transaction. Save that. Now I'm going to go to manage database. Z on window transaction. Create that. And now we're just going to set up this function here. Equals modification timestamp. And then grab the audit log data, ID contact. Uncheck that. Okay. Grab my little button, stick it up here. Let's see if it worked. Browse new record. John Doe. Save the record, open the audit. There, it tracked it already.
Wait. You rolled out a system-wide audit trail that fast?
That for that one table, yep, I would need to add that field to each table in the app. But that was the entire audit log and set up. All I would need to do it in. So if I go to over here, it's not going to create. I'll do a new one. Say Apple. So it didn't create anything there. But if I add this button here on window transaction and set up my little script, my calculation, ID account, check.
That piece is the only piece you have to do to enable it for a table.
That field is the only piece that needs to be done.
And it's writing into the same log. So then the log layout, wherever that's at.
Yeah, so the log layout was created with the add-on part. Audit LLC. There it is.
This is awesome. So when someone says, does a FileMaker platform support audit trails? The answer now is yes. That was, even if you don't understand how it works and you have no clue, if you follow the little window step by step, it's like a Betty Crocker cookbook. No, most people don't have Betty Crocker's cookbook. Put cup of soup under sink, add water, nuke for 3 minutes, let cool, eat. Okay. This is almost that simple. And then you could customize that layout to be able to hunt for things or look for it shows all the edits. Is it before and after edits? Is that what it's doing?
Yeah. So here you'll see that these are all the new ones. And I can search and say, I can say, what do I want to see here? Oh, so let me see something here. One thing you do have to do with this button is put in the ID, the primary key that you're searching for. That's the other thing. So here, I can do a search now and say, I just want to see all the name fields, all the changes there. Or if we change this to Jonathan, now I can search and say, I want the name, name first field. And I can see how that changed over time. New means that was when the correct record was new, and this was modified. It means that was the name modification.
So on that record, it doesn't show before and after on that record right there on the top record?
No, it doesn't. So this audit log isn't giving you a before and after, but what it is giving you is what change happened at that moment. And by comparing it to past data, you can see the change over time.
So you could take this layout and obviously customize this layout and make it better and put all sorts of search and show me this and that and the other thing. The one thing it doesn't do is show you the records that you viewed, right? If you do a search and you view records like
no, it doesn't do anything like that. So this is just showing you audits.
Add edits and deletes, and then but then it's also that was the other thing for HIPAA was and you built that in another solution where if you do a search, then it takes using the summary a summary type of calculation, get all the primary keys of all the records you just looked at and sticks them in So that would be what you'd need for, like, if you had stealth bomber secrets or medical records, you want to add that to this, and then you'd have the complete package. So that's pretty amazing. That is it. So I'm going to run the closing. Calvin, good job. Do we get to bring Calvin
Thank you.
back someday? Ed Burkle says 100%. All right. Thanks, everyone.